Wait.
Recording in progress.
Whew. You definitely want to be natural. My screen presence. It is distracting. Definitely is like,
Yeah.
I want to keep looking up every now and then just to see
Yeah.
like what. Yeah.
I think there's something to be said for like a certain profilicity, like intentionally presenting yourself in a certain way, like even in the artistic sense, even, you know. But in general, I think, you know, the true art is to be who you really are.
Totally.
That's when the logo shines through you. That's what I was kind of hoping to touch on. What we were just saying before about like making a dwelling place for the logos. I feel like there was a couple things that are kind of left out in our last conversation, as there always will be, of course. But particularly this idea of like the logos of you, in that it's not just about embodying and recognizing the patterns of spiritual beings, you know, but I would say also that like the first order of spiritual beings would be like the guardian angels. And obviously I'm pulling a lot of this from Steiner, but it's also just that I think this seems to make sense in my own cosmology, where when somebody's vibing with or dancing with the higher patterns, the first one, at least Steiner says it, where the first one would be your guardian angel, right? And the guardian angel is kind of like what we were just saying about the logos of you. It's like your soul. It's like that's when it's the ideal version of you, the kind of white stone name, perfect. Maybe it's like even the version of you that's already like finished in the future or something like that.
Sure.
It's kind of hovering above
your highest self or whatever.
Like the teleological object for you, basically. And
sure.
to embody that, that's kind of the goal, in my opinion. And also, I think in a sense that's always shining through people. You know, it's always kind of encoded, kind of like the Rubik's Cube, in people that you're looking at. So you can always ascertain these higher level patterns, but some people embrace their connection with this this essence better, I suppose, such that it shines through them more completely. And I don't know if it's maybe that like the guardian angel is connected to higher angels or something, or that like maybe eventually it gets switched out or something for an archangel or something. But do you see kind of where, this is kind of at the edge of my
following totally.
My ability to put into words, but like I just felt like it was kind of left out in the edit was the fact that it's not just these apersonal, it's like you, and like when you're most you, that's when you're really connecting.
Definitely.
We were just talking a little bit about Luke Thompson, and he's constantly raving about this idea of personal knowing. It's your own reading of things, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Rick Rubin talks about that. The interviewer is like, so you don't know how to mix? Nope. You don't know how to record people? Nope. Do you know how to play an instrument? Nope. Barely. The guy's like, well, what the fuck do you do? He's like, well, why are you so, you know, valued or whatever? He said, I'm valued for my ability to judge the truth or to like see value in things or to give my artistic opinion. That's what I'm valued for, right? And that's the most important part of the creative process. I mean, if there is such a thing as the most important part. I
think so too. Yeah, I think about like audience capture as like the antithesis of artistry. You know,
definitely.
Like,
100%. I always felt that too when you see an artist. Kid Cudi comes to mind. I liked him back in the day a lot. And then he had this period where he just like got really angsty and hated everything and started doing like a rock band. And I listened to it and I was like, I cannot, like, I don't like this music, but like, do what you got to do, man. Like, I don't got to like everything you make, you know? Like, I understand as an artist, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do. So I respect the hustle, right? I respect that, like,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm reminded of McMosive. He was the first guy talking in that propositionalism clip. I think he's a shining example of somebody who follows their own muse. You know, like he's out there making weird beats.
Yeah.
As the public would say, weird. You know, I think it's cool, and you know, he's not about to let anybody tell him how to make music.
Yeah, I clipped one of his edits. I remember liking it.
You know, and this connects. You know, as we were talking about personal knowing and stuff, it goes with that connection, like when you're being most yourself. I think we're doing art all the time. You know, people talk about life as a work of art. It's like, I just think in almost like perceiving is a creative act. You know, it's like, because you're choosing, in a sense, like, you're encountering that that infinite
Yeah.
everything and like selecting in a way, and
Mhm.
and I think that basically that is always like that's what contextualizes and creates the automatic being. Maybe not like we can kind of interrupt that with our very conscious and chosen words, but like it's like the art is always flowing through you based on what you're kind
Yes.
of doing and aiming at and pursuing and perceiving. And I think about the mask as this process of like covering up that natural shine in a way. Like
Mhm.
it's that's when there's no personal knowing. That's when there's no personal artistry. It's a little bit beyond me. Hard to put it all
Right.
together.
But the mask is there for a reason, right? The mask is there to like maintain social
It's kind of
cohesion.
like one of the propositions. It's kind of like the box, the mask. You don't just want like no mask or something. Like,
Right.
you have to be-
That's chaos, right? That's the purest.
maybe. I don't
you
know. I don't know. It's a little touchy because I really like the idea of no mask, and I think maybe where it would be a vessel for like the logos of you, kind of like the box, not to contain it, but to like hold it up and glorify it.
Right. I think you have to. I like that sentiment, but I think that you have to put anything in a box to develop any understanding of it. So the second, like, if you're like in the creative bliss or whatever, that you pick an idea as the one you're capitalizing on, you necessarily define it and then limit it, right? And you could, if you were to let it go, it would turn into something else, and that creative process is infinite. So you have to put things in a box in order to understand anything. I just think that you have to remember that it is a box. I think that's the problem, is that people just don't know that. They don't understand the limitations of the box. They don't even know that there is a box. They just like do shit, and then
Yeah.
I guess this is the first time I've kind of heard you say the mask, so that sounds like there's a whole thing that you've got on that in your head. But what comes to mind, right, is like, it's your persona, right? It's who you present to the world, right? And that it serves a necessary social function, in that it's the bridge between you and the world, right?
Mhm.
So in order for people to understand each other, you have to have a kind of common like bridge of understanding, right? I think the problem is that people don't understand that the persona is not them. They just don't, like, people don't have this first fucking idea of like of their actual subconscious
Complexes.
right. Like, we have personas for a reason, right? We've developed them biologically. The problem that I feel like most of the friction comes from is just that people don't know that it's a bot. They don't understand the limitations of it. They just conflate that. They're like, this is the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not like,
my kind of understanding of, or at least how I think about the mask and the persona as well, is that it's directly connected to this to the technology of, it's like a very Luciferic type of thing, I think, or something.
I have Azazel hanging in my living room.
Oh,
Fun
yeah?
fact. Is that bad? Should I
pretty
take
sure
it
that's
down?
bad, yeah.
Like a biblically accurate angel, but it's just like a fucking like Furby.
I mean, well, the thing is that Azazel is like one of the things that goes with Lucifer in the Cosmogram. Like, it's Azazel is the angel who in the Book of Enoch it gave technology to humanity, and and so Galahad thinks about this as like an ambivalent kind of thing. At least how I think about the mask and the persona as well, is that it's directly connected to this. It's like a tool. I think about it as body language. Like, the mask is made of body language, and body language is a tool. So it's a matter of how we relate to this tool, such that sometimes technology can use you, and you become the mask controls you, and it's stuck on your face, and you can't get it off. And I think about that as like, it's kind of an artifice, right? So I don't know exactly the way to word it, but like, I think about it as the mask is like a tool of the artifacts or a tool of the maze or something. And ideally, it would be like
white magic.
When you find a right relationship with this technology, that it's happening, like, it glorifies your true personhood.
Yes.
rather than and it's interesting like whether that would look like no mask or like a transfigured mask or something, but
It's a balance between
yeah,
the two, right? It's
something
a, it's
I
a
don't know.
compromise between you and what the world demands you be to exist in it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I were my true self, half the time I would be a fucking asshole. If
Well,
like
yeah,
I'm in
this is
traffic
kind
and
of the
someone
thing though,
cuts
is
me
that I
off
think
and I just said
yeah,
how I felt, right?
I
Like I gotta like
yeah, man, I hear that. Yeah, I that of course, but at the same time, like part of me thinks like that we're kind of called to, um, you know, exceed this or something like I think
yes,
about like obviously it kind of goes back to what we were talking about like when you are really doing that people start noticing and shit gets kind of crazy like because I think about
yeah.
like
And the
the,
system
the
comes
true
down on you.
trans
And the system
the
comes
true
down on you.
transfigured like it might lead you to real chaos in your life but like to speak the truth regardless of the chaos like that's a noble aim in my opinion or
Mhm.
something. It's hard, it's very difficult.
What's that? Did Jordan Peterson? I think I heard him say one time this concept of like, in the way that there's like a white lie, there's also like a black truth, right? So there's like
Well,
a truth.
yeah, to wield the truth like is yeah
Yeah, like
because truth always has to be spoken in love and it needs to be guided by wisdom and
mhm.
or something. Yeah, good shout, man, that was a good shout.
Yeah. I like how you say that. Good shout.
I don't remember who I picked it up on. This is another one of those earworms phrases.
Yeah, I thought you were saying good shot for a second, and I was like, good shout.
No, that'd be hella rude.
I like Jordan Peterson's kind of compromise on that was tell the truth or at least don't lie, right? That's like, that draws like a line between where it's really like, like it's pragmatic, right? But it all and so it accounts for like the reality of like living by your truth, but then it
Yeah.
also says don't give in and don't be a leaf in the wind, right?
Yeah, and eventually, because if you lie, then like eventually the lies consume you, and it's kind of goes back to this idea of like it's stuck on you and you can't get it off.
Yeah. And all of society is trying to get you to get in their box, right? Is they're trying to convince you like every conversation, once you see this, man, like every conversation is so, I feel like for the vast majority of the time, unless all parties are very conscious of it, you're trying to turn people to your side of perspective,
Which definitely,
right?
yeah,
You're always trying to put people in a box and trying to invite them into your box. Even if you say like, I don't care, like you might not care, but still like there's like, it's just the way that we communicate, right? Like
yeah,
it's just like a natural thing that we do, right? And like there's just so many of these little nuances to communication that I just feel like people don't realize. They're just all subconscious.
yeah. It's magic. That's what makes me think of it as magic. It's like
Okay.
we're all doing magic all the time, it's casting spells and
Yeah.
with our words. You
We're
just
not
to
aware
say
of.
a sentence, it's like mind control. It's like it's
Yes.
like, if I say purple elephant, now and it's people. It's like you were saying. It's kind of built in. It's just how it works.
And I
And
see the
this-
purple
I'm
elephant.
so glad you said that as well, because this the thing is, well, I think an interesting thing about what was it? Something about feeling with the other person. Oh yes,
Empathizing.
to identify. Yes, to recognize the pattern. I think the reason why this is such a powerful medium and such is because like when you see somebody who's making a frowny face, you said like remember how you were like before you develop those skills, the ability to recognize the patterns and to discern
Mhm. Yeah,
it's I think what's really powerful about this is that with spoken languages and stuff like we were just saying, it's like it's this cultural mind control that like you have to know the words already, right? But with nonverbal, it's like to recognize the pattern. If I'm frowning or if I'm smiling, it's easier for me in this moment.
yeah.
If I'm smiling, you can kind of immediately viscerally identify that pattern, because it's like you've been there to a sense. And also, it's not even just this perspectival adopting your perspective, but I think crucial is the fact that we can actually participate. And like when we're talking, inevitably you kind of you'll feel what I'm feeling, and like that's how you identify the pattern.
Yeah.
I think, or something,
No, totally.
Part of it is to know it from your own experience in the past, but
Yeah.
another would just be to actually feel it with you, and that's how I can learn to recognize what
Right.
patterns your body. The left brain is kind of attuned to the meanings of the words and such, while the right brain is usually taking care of all this stuff that we're not
Right.
conscious of.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and the reason I say that is to say that
One of the things that the magician is about is this union of conscious and unconscious, which relates to this whole idea of peripheral vision and our tendency toward this narrow focus, objective kind of vision within Western culture, which I think Ian McGilchrist rightly sees as endangering us in the long run.
I think we all suffer from this kind of removal or alienation from each other ultimately.